My parents stole the dream home I spent $62,000 renovating and gave it to my younger sister. They called me selfish for walking away. But 3 weeks later, in the middle of their housewarming party, the house revealed a secret that changed all of our lives forever. My name is Maya Cole, and I turned 31 last month. I've been on my own for a while now, 4 years in a modest downtown rental that I keep neat and sunlit. By day, I work remotely as a content manager for a digital magazine. The checks are steady, the savings slow. I've got a younger sister, Nia, who's 27. In my family, Nia has always been the soft spot, the one our parents instinctively orbit. Maybe it's the baby sister glow, maybe it's because she rarely swims against the current. Either way, I learned early that my lane required twice the effort for half the applause. Nia got engaged to Marcus, a charming, gym-loving peacemaker who laughs at all my parents' jokes, about 18 months ago. Since then, wedding talk has filled every Sunday like background music, guest lists, napkins, colors, centerpieces. After dinner one bright afternoon, I finally said what I'd been holding. I want to buy a place. I've got a down payment started, but I'll need another year. Since I work from home, I'm thinking somewhere outside the city, more space, less noise. My parents traded one of those silent glances they've perfected over decades. Then my mom set down her cup and said, almost casually, "You don't have to wait. Your father and I think you should have the lakeside bungalow." I blinked. "Your place by the water?" They nodded. The bungalow sits a little over an hour from the city, a 2-story with a sunroom that catches late morning light. They bought it years ago and barely use it now. "It just needs some love," Dad said. "New floors, a few structural touch-ups. Nothing wild." Shock warmed into hope. For once, it felt like I wasn't the afterthought. The next day I drove out in broad daylight, rolled the windows down and let the breeze carry in the smell of pine and damp earth. The house looked tired but sturdy. Good bones, as folks say. I roamed room to room, mapping it all in my head. The sunroom as my office, the back deck for weekend cookouts, a reading corner by the upstairs window where the lake glints like a coin. I called a contractor my colleague swore by, DeAndre Mills. He met me there the following afternoon with a laser measure and a notepad, checking everything from the crawl space to the roofline. "It's solid," he said finally. "Needs a real refresh, and we should shore up a couple of load-bearing points." "But you've got something here." We built a plan in the kitchen, elbows over a dusty counter like teammates drawing up a play. New oak floors throughout, a light structural reinforcement on key walls and the foundation, a full kitchen and bath update, fresh paint, modern fixtures. When he slid the estimate across $62,000, my savings did a little gulp. Still, the math beat renting forever. "Let's do it," I said, and we shook hands in the sun. The next weeks moved fast. I drove out after work most days to check the progress while the crew, mostly black tradesfolk from nearby towns, kept the site humming. Out went brittle carpet and creaking boards. In came clean, satin-smooth oak. DeAndre's crew tightened the bones of the house, fastening it for the next few decades. The kitchen shed its old cabinets for warm wood, stone counters, and a sink deep enough to swallow a stock pot. The bathrooms brightened with tile and glass that actually gleamed. One evening, golden light poured through the sunroom as I did my usual walkthrough. My phone rang. "Dad." "How's it coming, May?" he asked, using the nickname from when my pigtails had beads on the ends. "Good," I said, smiling despite myself. "Floors are in, the last of the wall reinforcements start tomorrow, and the foundation work is finished. It's really happening." "I'm proud of you," he said, voice warmer than I was used to. The words landed like a jacket on cold shoulders. After we hung up, I stayed a while, palms on the new oak, imagining furniture placements and sunlight patterns. For the first time in a long time, my life felt like it was tilting toward me. I locked up just as the afternoon drifted into that bright, late-day hush. From the driveway, the lake winked through the trees. I pictured weekend mornings with open windows and jazz low in the background, a skillet warming while I answered emails from the sunroom. A home. My home. I drove back to the city with the windows down, letting the day's warm air smooth out the edges of my thoughts. Everything was finally moving in the right direction. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't possibly have guessed, was that the house had a secret no one had bothered to uncover, and that secret was about to test every line of loyalty in our family. A couple of bright afternoons later, DeAndre called while I was sorting fixture orders by the window. "Maya, I've been reviewing old site records and the original layout," he said. "There's a buried problem we need to fix before we rough in plumbing." I stood, heart thudding. "How bad?" "Day 1 installation on the supply and waste lines looks wrong. Angles, junctions, the main tie-in, none of it was set for full-time living. Weekend use hit it. Daily use could push it over the edge." He paused. "If these lines stay, a burst or backflow isn't an if, it's a when, and it could spill past the property line." I pressed my palm to the cool glass. "What's the damage to make it right?" "Replacing everything below grade and inside the chases, rebuilding a few sections of wall, retrenching around the perimeter." He exhaled. "Ballpark? Another $61,000. The number sat between us like a heavy box. "I need a minute," I said. "Let me think and check my money." "Take a couple days," he said. "We'll hold until you decide." 2 mornings later, I drove out under a clear sky to walk the place and think. But when I turned into the drive, I spotted 2 cars already there, my parents' sedan and Marcus's shiny coupe. The front door stood open to a warm draft. Inside, I found Mom, Dad, Naya, and Marcus strolling the living room, admiring the oak and the fresh paint like they'd ordered it themselves. "What's all this?" I asked, sunlight pooling across the floor between us. Mom startled, then recovered with a smile. "We came to check the progress. It's beautiful, baby." Nia laced her arm through Marcus's. "We were just walking him through. Isn't it lovely?" Something in her voice turned my stomach. "Why would you be walking him through my house?" Dad cleared his throat. "We've talked it over," he said, daylight catching the silver at his temples. "Nia's getting married soon. She and Marcus need a home to start their life. It makes the most sense for them to take the bungalow." I stared, a ringing in my ears. "I've put $62,000 into this place. And we are grateful," Naya said, smiling too sweet. "We always look out for each other. You've given us such a head start. There are just a few finishing touches we'll handle to fit our taste." Air moved in and out of my lungs on command alone. No one laughed. No one said, "We're kidding." The light from the sunroom laid out long, clean rectangles on the new floor, as if to mark off exactly what was being taken. "You can visit," Nia added, generous as a queen. "We'll keep a guest room for you. Drop in once a month." The words came to my tongue and died there. I thought about telling them everything DeAndre had found. The wrong angles, the doomed tie-in, the cost of doing it right. But a steadier instinct told me to hold my peace. I turned and left, their voices carrying down the hall behind me. Outside, the afternoon felt too bright for how cold I was on the inside. I drove back to the city with my jaw tight and the radio off. In my apartment's daylight, I called DeAndre. "Don't move ahead on the plumbing," I said. "The ownership situation changed." He was quiet. "You sure?" "I'm certain. The folks who take it from here can deal with it." "Understood," he said. "If they reach out, I'll give them a fresh assessment, but I won't use your budget or plans without your say." "Thank you," I said, meaning it. Days passed. I poured myself into work, stacked freelance assignments, and rebuilt my reserves dollar by dollar. When curiosity finally got the better of me, I opened social media around noon. Nia had posted bright, airy slideshows, fresh wallpaper, gleaming fixtures, a staged living room, brand new appliances. The caption announced a housewarming that weekend, complete with sunlit selfies and the hashtag that made my chest heat, #new home, new life. No invite for me, of course. I closed the app and went walking in daylight until the anger bled into resolve. It wasn't just a house. It was my effort, my vision, repackaged as someone else's triumph. The following week, my cousin Jasmine called during lunch. Out on a sunlit sidewalk, I balanced the phone on my shoulder. "Girl," she said, breathless, "you missed a whole movie at that housewarming." I stopped. "What happened?" Right in the middle of the tours, folks started hearing this deep gurgling. Next thing, bubbling up through the bathroom drains. Not water. You know what I mean. People ran outside, and then the yard started belching from the ground. It was a mess, in daylight, in front of everybody. I closed my eyes, the picture too vivid. No. Oh yes. Their contractor came by the next day and told them they've got to replace the entire system. Walls and floors back open. He quoted them more than double what they already spent. said they should have fixed it before all the pretty. I leaned against a warm brick wall and let out a slow breath I didn't know I was holding. And the neighbors? Furious, Jasmine said. Their new pool, their garden, ruined. They want compensation today, not tomorrow. By mid-afternoon, my phone lit with family messages that ranged from scolding to pleading. I didn't answer. Sunlight crossed the floor of my apartment as hours passed, long and patient. Late day, Dad called. I picked up. Why didn't you handle the pipes? He demanded, skipping hello. I didn't know about any pipes, I lied calmly, watching the light touch the far wall. Also, it isn't my house. You should have done better research, he muttered. You should have let me keep the home I funded, I said, voice even. I would have done the right thing. You chose otherwise. Dad started to say Nia's name, that she needed a home. I ended the call. From that point forward, I put my head down and worked. At noon, at 3 at golden hour, until my savings had a little cushion again. When Grandma Lila later called in the afternoon, I told her everything in the plain, bright light of day. The offer, the renovation, the switch. She listened, slow and steady, and she believed me. I won't be giving them a dime, she said at last. What's right is right. And as the season eased toward fall, rumor had it, my parents took out loans to calm the neighbors and tore out the worst of the lines. Then ran out of cash. The water stayed off. The air inside turned damp. Sunlight can't bleach out certain kinds of neglect, and that house was learning the difference the hard way. By late morning on a crisp Saturday, my phone buzzed nonstop. Mom's paragraphs, Nia's guilt trips, Marcus's be reasonable voicemails. I set the phone face down in a patch of sunlight on my table and kept working. Around noon, Aunt Patrice, Dad's sister, called from a number I didn't recognize. We weren't close. Still, I answered. I ran into your father, she said. He swears you promised to cover repairs, then backed out. That true? Let's meet in daylight so I can walk you through it, I said. We chose a cafe with big windows and 2 bright chairs. Over sweet tea and the clatter of lunch orders, I laid out the facts. The promised bungalow, my $62,000 overhaul, the last-minute switch to Nia, the hidden plumbing mess DeAndre discovered, and my decision to stop when the house was taken from me. As I talked, Patrice's skepticism drained away. He told me you were being difficult, she murmured, staring past me at the busy sidewalk. He left out everything. Did you notice I wasn't at the housewarming? I asked. I did. Nia said you were jealous, Patrice grimaced. I should have known better. We left with a hug we'd never shared before, the kind that says, I see you now. Days folded into one another. Jasmine called one bright afternoon to report what everyone already knew. The bungalow sat quiet, water off, drywall cut open, damp settling in like a bad habit. The neighbors kept pressing for compensation. My parents' voices, when I bothered to listen, sounded thinner each time. When Grandma Lila rang again, sun spilled across my kitchen floor as I told her the updated mess. Baby, she said gently, I taught your father to stand on his word. If he forgot that, let this bring him back to remembering. Right after lunch one weekday, Dad called with a different tone, worn and gray. Your mother and we made mistakes. The bank is on us. We took a second mortgage. We're behind. He swallowed. We need help. From me? I asked, steady. We can pay you back eventually. You know the contractor. You can manage the fix. My savings are for my life, I said. I'm shopping condos. I told you the truth the day you took that house from me. Family doesn't mean I bankroll choices that cut me out. Silence stretched. Birds called somewhere outside my window, bright and oblivious. You're really leaving us to drown? He said finally. I'm leaving you to swim, I answered. The shore is the truth. Get there. I blocked numbers after that. Mom's barrage, Nia's, think of the wedding please, Marcus's polite ultimatums. I poured daylight into applications and viewings. By early afternoon one Friday, a realtor slid a folder across a sunlit table. Small, modern condo, tall windows, a balcony that peered over a park like a quiet promise. I put in an offer before the light changed. 2 weeks later, just after lunch, the seller accepted my offer. In the bright light of the brokerage office, I initialed a stack of papers while sun spilled across the conference table. This, right here, was mine. That same afternoon, Jasmine called from the sidewalk between errands. You heard the latest? No. They ripped out more drywall, but never replaced the lines. Water's still shut off. The house smells like a basement that forgot the sun. The neighbors are pressing harder for damages. By midweek, daylight caught me in the grocery aisle when Aunt Patrice rolled up with a cart. She looked tired but kind. "I've been thinking about you." We stood in the wide, bright aisle between bags of rice and shelves of olive oil while she filled me in. "Your parents tapped savings, then loans. The bank's now tapping them. If they don't catch up on the second mortgage, their own house is at risk." I exhaled. I don't want ruin for them. I just wanted fairness. "They made choices," she said, voice firm. "Consequences are daylight. You can see them coming if you look." Outside, the afternoon felt soft and clear. I drove home, opened the windows, and let the air drift through. For the first time in months, the future didn't feel like a fight. As winter edged in, updates trickled through family chatter that found me even with numbers blocked. Grandma Lila kept it playing on a sunny call. "They're drying the place with box fans and prayers. That won't fix what's under the earth, baby." I listened, quiet. "I know. Stand on your boundary," she said. "Love doesn't mean losing yourself." A few days later, Dad rang from a different line at high noon. I answered to end it. "We fell behind," he admitted, voice thin. "The bank sent a letter." "I'm sorry for the mess," I said, "but I won't finance it." He started to say Nia's name, then stopped. "Do what you have to do," he muttered, and hung up. That afternoon, I signed the last of my condo documents with a steady hand. Sunlight stitched a bright line across the page where my name landed. Move-in day came with clear skies and warm daylight bouncing off the building's glass. The condo was smaller than the bungalow but gleamed. Tall windows, an easy kitchen, a balcony that looked over a park where kids chased each other between trees. I opened boxes to jazz and afternoon sun, then took a picture of the empty living room with my keys on the counter, proof to myself that I had built something solid. No promises stolen, no rug yanked out. By late afternoon, Jasmine called again. "Quick tea?" she asked. We sat by the window with mugs steaming in the bright light. "They're listing the bungalow as is," she said. "Word is a developer might tear it down. Neighbors got a payout after all those angry visits. Your folks, they look worn, Maya. I hope this teaches them to do right." I stared out at the park. Strollers moving, dogs trotting, life going on. "Some things don't come back," I said, "but some things never should." Before she left, Jasmine squeezed my hand. "You did what you had to do." That weekend, I spent long, sunny hours making the place mine. Hanging frames, rolling a rug into place, tucking books onto shelves. I set a small plant in the corner where the afternoon light lingers and watched it lean toward the brightness like it understood. My phone lit with a message from Grandma Lila. "Proud of you. Sun shines on truth." I smiled, texted back a photo of the view. As the day stretched golden across my floors, I thought about everything the lake house had represented. Parental approval, a shortcut to home, the hope that being good would finally be enough. In the end, it taught me a different lesson. What's built on uneven lines will buckle, no matter how pretty the paint. This place, it's balanced. Paid for with my hours, my choices, my name on the page. Maybe it's smaller than what I almost had, but it fits. And when I step onto the balcony at noon and let the sun find my face, I know, finally, that I didn't lose a home. I found one.